This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maddie Jansen.
And I'm Alex Fisher. We begin here at noon with an inmate wanted for attempted murder still on the run after escaping KCSO custody yesterday. Right now, sheriff's deputies continue to look for the man, 34-year-old Marcos Rosales.
Information regarding an inmate that escaped from the Control 1 transport unit, fled on foot, will be wearing tan inmate clothing.
Deputies say Rosales escaped as he was being transported to a medical appointment in downtown Bakersfield. Rosales had been transported in a KCSO van without shackles by a single sheriff's deputy. As the deputy was getting him out of the van, KCSO says Rosales threw a powdery substance at the deputy's face. Officials say Rosales then carjacked a woman driving nearby and then took off. He has not been found since. Rosales was being held on multiple charges, including attempted murder and assault with a deadly weapon. KCSO says to their knowledge, proper protocol was followed before Rosales escaped. They said he should be considered dangerous, and if you see him, call 911.
Former President Donald Trump is being deposed today in the New York Attorney General's civil probe into the Trump Organization. Mr. Trump's deposition comes a week after his two eldest children testified in Attorney General Letitia James' investigation. The civil probe stems from allegations that the former president and his organization inflated financial statements. The Trumps and the Trump Organization were unsuccessful at blocking a subpoena for their testimony. They have denied any wrongdoing.
Now to that FBI search of former President Trump's Florida home as Mr. Trump and his allies ramp up their attacks on the Bureau, claiming without evidence that the investigation is politically motivated.
NBC's chief White House correspondent Kristen Welker has the latest.
Overnight, in a show of force, a group of House Republicans having dinner and posing with former President Trump at his home in New Jersey. One of the congressmen who attended speaking out overnight.
I've never seen President Trump as fired up as what he was tonight.
It comes amid dramatic new details about the FBI's move to execute a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump's Florida estate. A lawyer for Mr. Trump, Christina Bobb, tells NBC News his legal team had been discussing records stored at Mar-a-Lago since this spring. The news was first reported by the Washington Post, which also said federal authorities were increasingly concerned Mr. Trump or his aides had not returned all documents that were government property, citing people familiar with the discussions. On Monday, Bobb said the FBI removed about a dozen boxes from a basement storage unit.
They also said that they were looking for classified documents, evidence of a crime as far as classified documents go.
It comes as the former president and his allies are escalating their attacks on the FBI, claiming without evidence that the investigation is politically motivated.
We're a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party.
It's like what we thought about the Gestapo.
Former Vice President Mike Pence, who has broken with Mr. Trump publicly, is urging Attorney General Merrick Garland to give a full accounting of the search. The Justice Department is not commenting. The search warrant remains under seal, meaning details about what agents sought to remove from the residence are still secret. But experts say investigators had to meet a high bar to carry out the unprecedented search.
The FBI can't get a search warrant unless it establishes probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed, a federal crime.
And such a sensitive move, so close to the midterm elections, would almost certainly have to go through the highest levels of the Justice Department, including the usually cautious Attorney General Merrick Garland. Trump allies now saying it may have made the former president more fired up to run again.
I believed he was going to run before. I'm stronger in my belief now.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OBGYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
All right, education news now, and it is almost time for children to head back to school. And the COVID-19 pandemic is still affecting how students learn in the classroom and also how they socialize with each other outside of it. 17's Chris Burton has more.
Well, after years of disruption from COVID, education officials agree kids lost a lot of learning, but that goes beyond fractions or reading comprehension. As educators hope for a new normal, they'll have to help kids remember how to be kids.
We have to relearn how to do school again.
More than 2 years after COVID-19 forced kids out of classrooms, students and educators are still feeling the effects. As teachers struggle to catch students up in the classroom, they're also seeing lost growth on the playground and in the hallways.
That was gone for about 2 years, and then they all came back, and they had to relearn it, and it was there was some difficulties with that.
When students came back to campus last year, educators started noticing gaps. Not just words they couldn't pronounce, but life skills they didn't have. One teacher told me she had to run a mini course for her first grade students on how to open snacks. And without practice socializing, kids started to hide, literally and figuratively.
For a lot of the kids that are in that delicate stage of development, the mask became that barrier, or that protective measure, is what I'm saying.
But even with masks mostly gone, Standard Middle Principal Richard Connolly saw students put up barriers last year. This year, with hopes of less disruption ahead, he and his staff are getting a jump start at reintroducing kids to each other.
Things about like hats and beanies and hoods and AirPods and drinks on campus and just all these things that we ran into, we're heading it off at the pass this time.
Educators across the county hoping this year kids can be kids again. Chris Burton, 17 News.
And speaking of back to school, we at KGET are teaming up with the Open Door Network, formerly known as Bakersfield Homeless Center, to send kids back to school with all the supplies they need. Our back to school supply drive continues through the end of the week. We are asking for basic school supplies like backpacks, notebooks, pens and pencils, as well as new packs of socks and underwear for boys, girls, and please don't forget the teens. You can drop off donations at our station located at 22nd and L Streets in downtown Bakersfield. Let's just talk about this for a second because there are hundreds of kids in Kern County that rely on this back to school drive. And please don't forget about the teens. There's a lot of high school students as well. They need the school supplies, as well as our ones in junior high and elementary school. So please don't forget, there's a wide range of students that rely on your donation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so much fun to buy the cute little kindergarten stuff, but there are older kids too who are in need and want to feel good and feel their best on their first day back to school so that they can, be ready for a great school year. So.
Yeah, an investment in our local kids. KGET is once again asking you to help clear the shelters this month.
That's right. It's time to clear the shelters over the Bakersfield Animal Care Center. Our adoption event is actually already underway, but it's all going to culminate on August 27th at 8 a.m. at the shelter on Mount Vernon Avenue. All adoption fees are waived for the entire month, but we would love it if you'd come out and join us on the day of the event at the Bakersfield Animal Care Center. It's going to be a great day, and of course we want to get new homes for a lot of animals.
Wouldn't it be great if we could actually clear the shelters?
I hope we can this year. That'd be fantastic.
Hopefully we can. So if you are in need of a furry friend, go see the Bakersfield Animal Care Center and help us clear the shelter.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.